After missing 2 full paychecks during this partial government shutdown, it appears TSA workers might finally get paid as soon as Monday. But a union representing airport screeners here in Colorado says the damage is already done. Good evening. I'm Alexandra Lewis.
And I'm Kyle Clark. The House and the Senate ended the week passing very different bills to resolve this. And when it was clear they weren't in alignment, President Trump went ahead and signed an order himself, just telling Homeland Security to send out the checks. 9 News anchor Phil is along now with the latest on this. Phil?
And Kyle, it looks like that's going to happen as early as Monday. The president is keenly aware that those long lines and frustrated passengers is not a good thing as we get closer to the midterms. Republicans and Democrats know that too, but continue to point the finger at each other. In the presidential memorandum issued today, the president calls these circumstances an emergency and ordered the Department of Homeland Security to immediately start paying the agents who have been working without pay now for weeks. DHS says almost 12% of agents called out yesterday across the country, but at New York's JFK, that number was 33%. And in Baltimore, Washington, almost 40% of agents did not show up for work yesterday. Here in Denver, TSA union rep Angela Grana says even when this is all over, the agency is still in trouble.
We have been abused. We have been neglected. We have been forgotten, and we're never going to catch up on our bills. We're never going to recover from that. We're never going to forget. You're not going to bring back the officers that have already resigned. Those seasoned workers that have all kinds of knowledge and skills, you're not going to bring them back. They've already given up their badges. They've already probably lost their security clearances, so they're not coming back.
Angela went on in that interview to say if the president could have ended this incredible nightmare with just a stroke of a pen, she asked the question, why didn't he do it weeks ago? In Congress tonight, the fight continues over funding DHS and reforms to ICE. Kyle.
Phil, thank you. A federal judge has ordered a pause in the acquisition of 9 News and other stations by Nexstar, the parent company of Fox 31. Last week, the Trump administration approved the move. Lawsuits filed by Democratic attorneys general, including Colorado's, along with DirecTV, said the deal would lead to higher costs for consumers, along with newsroom closures and the loss of journalism jobs. Nexstar has said the deal will help broadcasters compete with tech giants. A temporary restraining order tonight in the DirecTV lawsuit orders Nexstar to stop any efforts to combine stations or terminate employees of Tegna, which owned 9 News until last week. Nexstar had previously said that multiple stations in the same city would be combined. The judge ordered that stations owned by Tegna prior to the transaction must be, quote, maintained and operated as independent, ongoing, economically viable, and active competitors. Next Tuesday, the judge will hold a hearing on whether to further block the integration process.
Today felt a little more like early spring, but don't get used to it. Summer-like weather returns for us this weekend. 9 News meteorologist Jaden Knowles bringing you your forecast for the weekend. Hey, Jaden.
Well, good evening, Kyle and Alex. Overall, today felt really nice, a break from the heat, but not so long, especially as we head into this weekend, talking about those warmer temperatures quickly returning. I mean, temperatures right now still on the warmer side, except for the airport. You're at 39 degrees right now, the low to mid 40s across the region, 44 degrees right here in downtown Denver, and then also 42 in Central Park. So temperatures across the entire state, noticing over towards the western slope, you're still seeing those warm temperatures, the low 50s over towards Grand Junction, and then over towards the eastern plains, the low to mid 40s. Overall, temperatures should drop to the upper 30s tonight, but satellite and radar, we're mostly quiet. No precipitation across the state. And matter of fact, I really don't have a lot of precipitation in my forecast over the next couple of days. But here is the next 3 days forecast-wise, especially if you like cards. Temperatures heating up to the low 80s the next 3 days. We'll talk more in details about that later on in the show.
Congresswoman Diana DeGette barely made the Democratic primary ballot tonight. The 15-term incumbent was within just a few votes from party insiders of not appearing on the primary ballot at all. She needed 30% of the vote in tonight's 1st District Democratic Assembly in Denver. She needed 30%. She got just shy of 33% against a far more progressive candidate. DeGette's represented Colorado's most reliably blue seat in Congress for nearly 30 years. Primary set for June 30th. 2 verdicts, in 2 days this week held major social media companies liable for harming children who use sites like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
As those companies pay out millions and public perception of their business models are changing, a mom from Colorado says she finally feels validated in her own years-long fight. Our own Jennifer Meckles has an update to her story we first shared with you 2 years ago.
Yeah, guys, if you've seen any headline this week about the trial against Meta and YouTube in LA, you've probably seen Lori Schott in the crowd. She's wearing pink here, part of the group of parents that pushed this forward. Lori lives in a small town in northeastern Colorado, and now her daughter's story is part of a national effort to forever change our kids' relationship with social media.
Wednesday was not a celebration for Lori Schott, but
it was a good day.
It was the kind of day that made a difference. After a jury in Los Angeles said, yes, Meta and YouTube were responsible for harming kids.
But it was validation that we knew what was going on, that we finally had our day in court, that big tech has to be accountable for the design of these platforms, and the world needs to know.
She traveled to LA from her home in Logan County, Colorado, to share her story with other parents outside the courthouse.
All of us parents there have lost children. That's not a victory. It'll not bring Annalie back.
Her daughter, Annalie, was just 18 years old when she died by suicide. Only after her death did her family learn about the troubling content she consumed on social media.
And the world didn't know. Parents didn't know the impacts of social media platforms because it was a very hidden world. No oversight, no regulations with these tech companies.
Though not a formal plaintiff in this LA case, Lori has joined a high-profile group of parents trying to turn their nightmare into change. Present at the trial, speaking across the country, even lobbying lawmakers.
And you come home and you're still empty-handed and your child's still not there. And I'm looking out the window right now, Jennifer, seeing where she's buried, going, that little girl has changed the world with all these other children that are gone. It's an overwhelming feeling. It's not justice. It doesn't bring her back, but I know that Annalie is protecting your child and people that are listening and my grandchildren. And
exhausted? Yes, but tireless, because Annalie's story is now starting to make a difference.
To think that her little story and her short time on this earth is moving mountains right now, I'm very proud of her.
2 years ago, guys, Lori and a lot of the other parents were just trying to get the attention of lawmakers and the court system, battling up against these giant tech company forces. They have the spotlight now, and legal experts have compared these trials to cases against tobacco and opioid companies and the major industry changes that followed. Jennifer Meckles, 9 News.
A driver who killed a cyclist in a hit and run in Boulder last year was sentenced to 18 years in prison today. 41-year-old John Wilkinson, a well-known member of the local cycling community, was hit and killed in May of 2025. Dante Johnson was behind the wheel. He was on parole at the time. 9 News Investigates found errors when he was assessed as low risk to reoffend 6 months before the crime. A lower risk level often results in lower levels of supervision. Last month, the Colorado Department of Corrections committed to reevaluating the risk levels of more than 1,700 parolees after a 9 News investigation found a systemic problem.
A tap room in Nederland, destroyed in that massive fire at the Caribou Village Shopping Center, is reopening in a new spot. Very Nice Brewing was one of 21 businesses that burned in the fire back in October. Months later, now their new tap room will serve up beer as of tomorrow. It's in the Vault, an old bank building. It's also home to another business that burned in the fire, Brightwood Music. Cause of the fire is not yet known. Firefighters said back in January they thought it might not be determined before summertime.
Well, tomorrow history will be made at Mile High. Denver Summit FC will kick off their first ever home game tomorrow with 60,000 tickets purchased. The team expects to break the single game NWSL attendance record. The team is fresh off of their first ever win against the reigning NWSL champion, and they're hoping to turn that into a streak.
A streak, a trend. On TV News, 2 is a trend. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez is outside Mile High for us with how folks are in Denver preparing to welcome the newest pro team in town. Colton?
Kyle, Alex, this is an opportunity for the Mile High City to welcome in its newest team. And for the businesses that surround this stadium, it's an opportunity for them to show them how the Mile High City kicks it on game day.
Game day is usually big prep all week.
For bars near Mile High, game day usually comes in the fall.
We're the closest bar to Mile High. We're just 2 blocks walking distance.
But on the last Saturday in March, fans will be marching into Little Machine Brewery for Denver Summit FC's home opener.
We're expecting comparable crowds to a Broncos game, and we're preparing for it.
Megan Hunt is no stranger to game day and is working behind the bar tomorrow.
We're opening early. We're expecting a really big crowd. People are really psyched about it.
Yeah, well, I love supporting women's sports, of course. Everyone watches women's sports. My boyfriend actually got us tickets for my birthday.
Caroline Gribbins is what you call a true fan.
People want this, and I think it's another great thing that Denver has to offer.
Did I mention she's also working at the brewery that same day?
I'm going to the game before work, and then I will literally walk from the game over here to work afterwards.
Game day is back in Denver.
We'll be rooting for them from over here.
For the brewery and Summit FC, the climb starts now.
We'd be super proud to be a Summit bar.
The brewery opens at 10 and that match kicks off at noon. Live in Denver, Colton Chavez, 9 News.